The WNBA is on fire, and I ain't talking about just the action on the court. The Indiana Fever, ladies and gentlemen, they've gone from league doormat to championship contenders practically overnight. And everyone's pointing fingers at one woman, Caitlin Clark. The rookie sensation is lighting up the league, no doubt. But some folks, they're saying it's all a setup. A conspiracy cooked up by the WNBA to boost ratings, sell jerseys, and turn the Fever into the next big thing. Now I'm all for a good conspiracy. Keeps things interesting, right? But this one, it's got people talking, debating, downright screaming at each other, and that's what I'm here to break down for you. Is this Fever surge for real? Or is Caitlin Clark just a pawn in the WNBA's big game? Buckle up, folks, because we're diving headfirst into this controversy. I'm talking packed arenas, jerseys flying off the shelves, the whole 9 yards. The WNBA hasn't seen this kind of buzz in years. And it all seems to revolve around Caitlin Clark. She's the real deal, a generational talent. But is her success a product of her own skill? Or is there something more at play here? That's the million-dollar question, and I'm here to dissect it. Let's rewind for a second. Last season, the Fever were, to put it nicely, a mess. They finished dead last, couldn't buy a win if they tried. Fast forward to now, they're sitting pretty at the top of the Eastern Conference. So what changed? 2 words, roster moves. The Fever front office went on a shopping spree this offseason, and they weren't playing around. They brought in veteran all-stars, drafted some young guns with serious potential, and completely revamped their coaching staff. Suddenly this team went from zero to hero. It's like they took the blueprint for building a championship contender and said, give us one of everything. But the timing of it all, right after Caitlin Clark declares for the draft, that's got people raising eyebrows. It's almost like the league said, let's give this girl all the tools she needs to succeed, immediately. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe it's the start of something more calculated. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the conspiracy itself. People are saying the WNBA is pulling the strings, making sure the Fever win, giving Caitlin Clark preferential treatment. They're saying the refs are biased, the schedule is rigged, the whole 9 yards. Look, I'm not one to shy away from a good conspiracy theory. But this one, it's a tough pill to swallow. The WNBA, they've always been about integrity, about showcasing the best female athletes in the world. To think they'd jeopardize that for ratings, it's a serious accusation. I'm not saying it's impossible. We've seen leagues manipulate outcomes before. But to accuse the WNBA of this, you better have some serious evidence. And so far, all we've got is speculation and hearsay. It's not enough to convince me, not yet anyway. This whole Caitlin Clark situation, it's got me thinking about the old days of the NBA. Back when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were battling it out, electrifying the league. Those were the glory days, rivalries that transcended the sport. And some people, they're saying Caitlin Clark is the key to bringing that same energy back to basketball. The WNBA, they've been searching for that defining rivalry for years. Something to captivate audiences, ignite passions. Could Caitlin Clark be the answer? She's got the talent, the charisma, the it factor. But to create a true rivalry, you need a worthy adversary. Someone to push her, challenge her, bring out the best in her game. The league knows this. They know that rivalries sell. So, are they trying to manufacture one around Caitlin Clark? It's a tantalizing thought, one that has fans and analysts buzzing. But can you really force a rivalry? Or does it have to happen organically? Whitlock weighs in a voice of dissent. Now, not everyone's buying into this conspiracy theory. My man Jason Whitlock, he's been very vocal about this. He's calling it outlandish, ridiculous, and everything in between. And you know what? He makes some valid points. Whitlock argues that the Fever's success is simply a result of good coaching, smart acquisitions, and yes, Caitlin Clark's undeniable talent. He says the WNBA doesn't need to rig anything. They've got a phenomenal product, and Caitlin Clark is the cherry on top. He's got a point. The WNBA has been growing steadily in popularity. They don't need cheap tricks to attract viewers. But still, I can't shake this feeling that something's off. The timing, the narrative, it's all a little too perfect, don't you think? Salary cap conundrum building a winner in the WNBA. Here's the thing about the WNBA that a lot of folks don't realize, the salary cap. It's a whole different ballgame compared to the NBA. Teams have limited resources, which makes building a championship contender extremely difficult. You can't just buy your way to a title like some teams in the NBA. You have to be strategic, draft wisely, and hope for a little bit of luck. So, how did the Fever manage to assemble such a stacked roster? That's the million-dollar question. Some people are whispering about special exemptions, creative accounting, maybe even some under-the-table deals. Look, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. But when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. The WNBA needs to address these concerns head-on. Transparency is key here. Manufactured drama? Can rivalries be scripted? Let's circle back to this idea of manufactured rivalries. Can a league really create drama, hype, and excitement out of thin air? Or is it something that has to develop naturally? It's a question that's been debated for as long as sports have existed. On the one hand, we've seen leagues try to force rivalries in the past with varying degrees of success. Sometimes it works, sometimes it falls flat. It all depends on the players, the storylines, and most importantly, the fans. On the other hand, some of the greatest rivalries in history were completely unexpected. They emerged organically, fueled by passion, competition, and maybe a little bit of animosity. These are the rivalries that capture our imaginations, the ones we still talk about decades later. Separating fact from fiction, the truth about the fever. So, where do we go from here? How do we separate fact from fiction? It's not easy, especially with all the noise and speculation surrounding the fever and Caitlin Clark. But here's my take. I'm not ready to jump on the conspiracy bandwagon just yet. I need to see more evidence, more concrete proof that something fishy is going on. The WNBA has a lot to lose if these accusations turn out to be true. Their reputation, their credibility, it would all go up in smoke. But at the same time, I can't ignore the questions, the doubts, the nagging feeling that something's not quite right. The timing of the fever's resurgence, the way the league seems to be promoting Caitlin Clark above all else, it's all a little too convenient. The Clark era begins, a league on the brink. One thing's for sure, the WNBA is at a crossroads. Caitlin Clark's arrival has shaken things up, brought a level of excitement and attention that we haven't seen in years. But with that attention comes scrutiny, speculation, and yes, even conspiracy theories. The league needs to tread carefully. They need to be transparent, address the concerns of fans and analysts, and most importantly, ensure that the game is played fairly and with integrity. As for Caitlin Clark, she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders. But she seems to be handling it all with grace, maturity, and most importantly, incredible talent. Whether you believe in the conspiracy or not, one thing's undeniable. The Caitlin Clark era has begun, and the WNBA will never be the same.